Do you know how frequently power positions of relationships of trust are abused? Authorities and powers that are used in the wrong ways can prove violent to these persons. A recent case saw a teacher accused of having inappropriate sexual relations with her underage student 40 times at her home, police reports said. Questions about school accountability and rules that are supposed to keep young minds safe are sorely raised. What can we do to stop breaches of that trust? How should the community hold educators accountable? In Tarrant County, Texas, a now former high school teacher is accused of having an improper relationship with a student. The school district says that complaints against Alainee Simonson include allegations that he taught English at Killough High School in the Louisville Independent School District and that he was dating and began a relationship with another teacher. The boy was a star student in his high school and a bright boy, and although he had come from Honduras to Texas to build a better future for himself, his teachers told him he was a hard worker and his classmates that he had more than determination. While life in Texas was nothing to write home about, he was thriving academically and at least making the best of the situation. But there was a storm raging underneath. He had always lived with his uncle and he'd been supported since moving to the U.S. One day, they told his uncle they were going to move out of state. The boy no longer felt that the world was falling apart. He had no idea where he would live or even how to keep on studying. With the weight of this uncertainty on his shoulder, he'd confided to someone who he thought could help him, Alainee, his English teacher. At Killough High School, she would be respected, a kind figure, able to connect with students. She listened intently when the boy told her about his problems with housing. With a warm smile, he promised, "I'll help you. There's nothing to worry about." She was at that moment an angel sent to rescue him. She told me that she'd let him stay at her house until he solved this permanent problem. The boy's relief was immense. He told his mother back in Honduras about the arrangement and said she thanked Alainee for stepping in amid such tough times. For a while, everything seemed to fall into place. The boy moved into Alainee's home, believing his life was finally back on track. He continued to excel in school, feeling grateful for the opportunity to stay in Texas and pursue his dreams. But what seemed like a perfect solution soon turned into something far more complicated and far darker. Unbeknownst to the boy, the teacher who had offered him shelter was hiding a sinister side. What had initially appeared to be an act of kindness began to unravel into something troubling. Questions lingered in the air, unspoken and unsettling. Why had Alainee been so quick to bring a student into her home? Was her kindness genuine, or did it serve another purpose? Each piece was worse than the one before, and the truth came in fragments, and in the ones that unfolded, you had to piece them together to understand what happened. As the boy noticed the changes in Alainee's behavior, his gratitude became thwarted by confusion and unease. It became increasingly troubling that the dynamic that felt safe had blurred into a line between teacher and student. It wasn't long until the boy became the focus of an investigation. Alainee's actions weren't under the radar with the situation being brought to authorities. It was now accused that the teacher who seemed like a guardian angel was a betrayer of trust being put in her. 2 weeks after the boy moved in with Alainee Simonson, his life changed in disturbing ways. Initially, what seemed like an act of compassion turned darker. Simonson's inappropriate and exploitative behavior forever changed the boy's perception of her, according to an affidavit. Authorities say the boy told them Simonson got him to admit to initiating the sexual relationship, despite how uncomfortable he was. He told her over and over that he did not want to get involved in that kind of thing. But Simonson reportedly used his weak spot to make himself and warned him that he could be used against him if he didn't accept her advances. He'd felt trapped and powerless but complied. The boy then told police that over the following weeks, Simonson coerced him into sexual encounters more than 40 times. This was an ongoing situation, and he didn't know what was going on, and he felt confused and betrayed by the person who was helping him. The affidavit also highlighted another troubling revelation. The boy recalled that Simonson had sent him a nude photo of herself in which she had prominently tattooed his name. But this shocking gesture ultimately blurred lines still more and raised further questions about her intentions. When interviewed by police, Simonson admitted to having a tattoo of the boy's name, but denied any sexual relationship with him. She claimed the tattoo was a way to show care, similar to how she had a tattoo of one of her children's names on her arm. However, the affidavit noted that Simonson had 2 other children whose names were not represented on her body. Her explanation left investigators skeptical, as the rationale did not align with the seriousness of the allegations. As the investigation deepened, the community struggled to reconcile the image of Simonson as a trusted teacher with the disturbing accusations against her. Colleagues and students who knew her described her as a caring and approachable educator. Yet, the evidence presented in the affidavit painted a vastly different picture. The boy, meanwhile, faced immense emotional turmoil. What began as an attempt to secure a stable home and continue his education had spiraled into an ordeal that left him feeling isolated and exploited. He wrestled with guilt and fear, uncertain about how his story would be received. It brought to the fore wider conversations about the exposed vulnerability of students and safeguarding the line between student and teacher. The last one also highlighted how trust can be exploited for personal gain once trust is manipulated. During the progression of the legal process, Simonson's denial of the allegations was completely opposite to what the boy described, and the physical evidence of the tattoo. Investigators pulled together what they could to figure out what happened to the boy and sought to make sure justice was done, and that such an incident wouldn't happen again. In their public statement, Louisville ISD said their commitment to student safety was very important, but named the seriousness of the situation. Reports that the teacher exhibited concerning behavior were investigated by the district, law enforcement, and Child Protective Services, who were unable at the time to substantiate an inappropriate relationship between the teacher and a student, their statement said. Police said they did not believe Simonson was responsible for any other victims. The school district restated that Simonson's employment was exclusive to Killough High School. The case caused the community to come to grips with the implications. Law enforcement focused on when Simonson went too far, but maintained a commitment to justice for the student and asserting measures by law enforcement to safeguard the system of education against this kind of incident in the future. Once trust is broken, a lot of rebuilding has to happen, both with the affected student and overall in the community. Subscribe and comment so we can uncover more cases for you.